It's not a proud day for this country. How could it be a proud day when a man who was not elected by the people becomes president of the United States? How does that happen? Listen, the man is a malignant narcissist, all right? That's a dangerous combination to have a narcissist like that who's elected to public office, because he's only thinking about himself. He's only thinking, how does this affect me? They see that the elites who ruined their lives hate Trump. Corporate America hates Trump. Wall Street hates Trump. The career politicians hate Trump. The media hates Trump after they loved him and created him, and now hate him. Thank you, media. The enemy of my enemy.
Donald Trump thought he had everything under control: the rallies, the sound bites, the loyal base that chants his name like a war cry. But what if I told you that the one person who knows him best, who's watched him rise, lie, manipulate, and melt down behind the scenes, has just stepped forward with a takedown so brutal could end Trump's reign forever? That person is Michael Moore, and he's not holding back. In a raw, unscripted moment now exploding across every media outlet, Moore unleashed a barrage of truth bombs that stripped Trump's empire bare, exposing lies, fear, and secrets Trump never wanted you to hear. The crowd went silent, the air shifted. Trump is reportedly fuming behind closed doors. This isn't just a takedown, it's the beginning of Trump's reckoning.
Fake news that he's one of the founders of in the Obama era.
So
he created the fake news of the
Barack Obama is not a citizen, and
he said that there was intelligence.
That's right. He was called by a reputable,
credible
source,
that there was intelligence.
Right.
He himself was going to. He was hiring investigators.
Yes.
To support his fake news.
In fact,
he is the godfather of this decade's fake news.
This is
for him now to say fake news.
Moore didn't bring gloves, he brought fire. What followed was a merciless dissection of the Trump illusion. He exposed the business genius who bankrupted casinos and the man of the people who crisscrossed the country in private jets while pretending to be one of us. For a showman who thrives on fiction, Moore's facts were lethal. The myths of Trump the outsider, the patriot, the fighter were obliterated in minutes. The most devastating blow came when Moore mocked the one thing Trump can't live without: seriousness. Once America starts laughing at you, you're finished, and Trump felt it. You could almost hear the rage tweet drafts spinning in his head as Moore's words turned his legacy into national stand-up material. This wasn't just criticism, it was a full-scale character demolition.
Because when he starts to cause harm to our fellow Americans, people are going to rise up. They're not going to take this. They're not going to take it from a guy that did not get a majority of the votes of the people of this country. So, and his thin skin too could be his undoing. When whoever has the most points wins, right? Tottenham 2, Chelsea 1. Who won that game? I'm just asking you factually. Who won that game?
In that case, Tottenham.
Tottenham won. All right. Now, how odd would it be if you on the news that night said, Chelsea won today with one goal and Tottenham got 2.
But what are you going to do about it?
This makes no sense.
The beauty of Moore's assault wasn't just its accuracy, it was the timing. As Trump's latest scam was already unraveling, Moore poured gasoline on the wreckage. He didn't merely list failures. He exposed the pattern, a life built on pure con artistry and a base to hypnotize to notice. He reminded the country this wasn't a one-off, this is who Trump has always been. The man who failed at selling steaks, who turned lawsuits into a lifestyle, who transformed nationalism into merchandise. Moore's monologue wasn't only informative, it was historic. It shattered the final seal holding the Trump myth together. So what happens when a man like Trump is humiliated not by lawyers or political opponents, but by laughter? You watch the unraveling in real time.
Donald Trump is a big believer in capitalism and free enterprise and the sort of thing that's driven us into the ground, this belief that you could just do whatever you want and it doesn't matter who gets hurt by it. And I don't really see him changing, but I think he knows he's been on TV, he's a performance artist. He knows what to say and he knows how to make this appeal.
You think it's BS?
I think it's, well, please, I don't use that kind of language. But yes, I think. Megan, come on, I know this is the flagship show of Fox News. I just want to go on the record. Well, we all know that.
Like the way you make me sound. Go on.
It is.
Moore did what no prosecutor, politician, or pundit has ever done so effectively. He turned Trump into a walking punchline. Every lie, every scandal, every insult all came crashing down under the weight of one unavoidable truth. Donald Trump is not a strongman. He's a salesman, a pitchman, a desperate ex-reality star clinging to a brand that's rotting from within. The art of the deal was never a strategy, it was a costume. And when Moore pulled it off, what remained was a scared man who couldn't even sell credibility to his most devoted fans. That night, Trump wasn't exposed, he was deflated. And Moore didn't gloat, he grinned, because the most powerful thing you can do to a man built on fear is laugh. What made this evisceration so potent wasn't just Moore's delivery. It was America's reaction, the viral clips, the stunned silence, the roaring laughter, the realization spreading like wildfire. We've been sold a fantasy for years, and now the mask is finally cracking. Moore wasn't just speaking, he was channeling millions of exhausted Americans sick of the grift, the noise, the delusion. Trump's base may scream fake news, but they're shouting into a void that's shrinking by the day. This wasn't just another Trump roast. It was a cultural tipping point, and the irony? The louder Trump yells, the more he proves Moore right, because when your only defense is denial, you've already lost the fight.
These days, Donald Trump is very busy doing a whole bunch of other things that we're not paying attention to. Today, Donald Trump's EPA did something that will suffer from years from now that we don't even know right now. His Interior Department sold off land of ours to people that shouldn't have it. His agricultural part, I mean, just go down all the cabinet departments. Every day there is something going on, and we are very caught up in the large things that he's doing, threatening North Korea, refusing to acknowledge what happened this weekend, what really happened. And I just want to be the one to point out that take this horror moment that we're in and times it by 20, times it by 200. That's what's going on in every federal agency under his control.
Imagine this, a man who's convinced half the country he's a self-made titan, a billionaire warrior battling the system, has his entire identity vaporized in under 5 minutes on live TV. That's exactly what Michael Moore delivered. Moore didn't debate policy, he tore open the narrative. He showed that this isn't merely bad leadership, it's a long con. Trump's grift didn't start in the White House. It stretches back decades. Fake universities, failed airlines, unpaid workers, lawsuits stacked like casino chips. Now the final con is unraveling. The truth, Trump never ran a country. He ran a performance, and a weak one. Moore didn't just call him out. He exposed the stage, the spotlight, and the makeup artist. Suddenly the strongman looked less like a titan and more like a sweaty actor at the final curtain, and the audience saw it. Moore spoke directly to those left behind, the voters, who treated Trump as their Molotov cocktail, their revenge on the elites. Instead of a fiery explosion, Moore handed them a mirror. They weren't dismantling the system. They were funding the system's poster boy, billionaire, celebrity, tax cheat, the guy who stiffed his workers while hawking cheap red hats made overseas.
Yes, right. But you and I know, because we've known Trump for how many umpteen years. I've been on shows with Trump back in the 90s. I mean, this is a guy who did support Planned Parenthood, who was for gay rights, who you know, yes, he was a big blowhard and he wanted his name on everything, but he also put the ice skating rink back in Central Park.
Right.
So you know, he's not what he's made himself out to be to these people who voted for him.
So then couldn't a guy like you get behind him?
No, his problem is going to be when he tries to walk back all the crazy stuff that he said. What's going to happen to all the people who voted for that crazy stuff?
You think they're going to abandon Trump?
I think Trump, I should say, I hope that we see the biggest landslide loss ever when whoever the Democratic nominee is beats Donald Trump.
You know what they're banking on? That even though he might lose some women, he might lose some Hispanics, he might lose some young people, some African-American vote, he's going to make it up with the white working class, with the very region he's now touring through, Appalachia and elsewhere, because he's appealing to them and because Hillary Clinton has made some mistakes already.
What makes Trump dangerous isn't just his lies, it's how many people need those lies to be true. Moore shattered that illusion. He walked viewers through Trump's career like a guided tour of disasters: the casino king who never won, the business titan who couldn't sell steaks, the populist leader who divided a nation to build a brand. It was a catalog of failure dressed up as success. Moore's most brutal point: Trump's greatest fear isn't prison or impeachment, it's irrelevance. And on live TV, Moore made him irrelevant, not with policy debate, but with mockery, pinpoint timing, and raw truth. For Trump, nothing is worse than being forgotten, and that's exactly where Moore left him, a fading punchline in a country ready to move on.
None of what he said was true, but that didn't matter. He knew how to communicate to the American public. He knew how to tell them what they wanted to hear. He went all over Wisconsin the last week saying, "I'm gonna make you all rich. I'm gonna make you all rich. You're gonna make you all rich." Well, geez, who wouldn't like to hear that, right? Right? Ma'am, how do I look tonight? How do I look? What would you say? Amazing. Thank you. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it really made me feel good. And that's how he worked, right? He knew how to do it because he was a TV star. He was already a beloved American TV star. Do you realize in the first year, I'm talking about The Apprentice, by the way, the looks on your face, you know. He was the host of a show called The Apprentice. How many people in here watch The Apprentice every week when Donald Trump was on? Can I see a show of 1, 2, 3, 4 in the balcony? Oh my God. You realize that his first year on the air, on some of those shows, that first season, he had over 40 million viewers. Last week on TV, the largest rated show was America's Got Talent. Not ironically titled, by the way, it's a real show. It had 13.1 million viewers. He had 40 million people watching this. And I realized, I guess this isn't that crowd, but I want to tell you, in between the Hudson River and La Cienega Boulevard, there are a lot of people that loved him because he knew how to keep it simple, stupid, right?
Trump's empire is a castle built on sand, and Michael Moore brought the tide. Every pillar of the Trump brand tough guy, deal maker, nationalist hero crumbled under Moore's precision strikes. He exposed the absurdity of a man who hawks gold sneakers to broke fans while pretending to be their savior. In doing so, Moore didn't just ridicule Trump, he ridiculed the story Trump sells. Moore's brilliance lay not only in what he said, but in how effortlessly he said it. Trump's mythology didn't go down in flames, it folded like wet paper. One blistering minute of Moore achieved what hours of hearings and debates never could. It made Trump look small, very small. Then came the real blow. Moore made America laugh. Not at policy, not at party lines, but at Trump himself. Nothing destroys a narcissist faster than laughter. Once you become a joke, you stop being a threat. Moore shrank Trump from strongman to clown, from leader to late-night punchline ant. That switch almost never flips back. Picture it now, Trump scrambling for control, firing off rage posts, blaming everyone from the DOJ to the ghost of George Washington. To late the audience is already laughing.
These days,
Moore
Donald Trump
isn't just a commentator.
is very busy.
He's the man who shattered the fourth wall of Trumpism,
Today,
leaving its
Donald
magician
Trump's
flailing
EPA
after the trick failed. Moore's strike hit so hard because he weaponized ridicule. Facts fade, but ridicule sticks. People forget headlines, yet they remember the gasp of a studio audience and the instant a strongman morphs into a sweaty caricature. Moore gave us that moment. It didn't merely wound Trump Trump's career. It annihilated the illusion and for a man who lives on illusion that fate is worse than any court ruling. Trump wasn't merely exposed, he was erased. He always knew the con would someday run out of runway, but he never expected it to end like this, not through indictments or congressional foes, but through laughter. Moore turned the Trump brand into a late-night infomercial for failure, the business genius who turned casinos into ghost towns. The patriot who dodged drafts, insulted veterans, and golfed through crises. The billionaire whose ventures bled cash like a cut artery. This is no longer politics, it's reputational collapse in 4K. Moore didn't need to shout, he simply laid out the facts and let Trump's absurdity implode under its own weight. The crowd saw it, the country saw it, and most painfully, Trump felt it.
Do you believe there is a chance that Trump could be convicted by the Senate? We will take care of it.
Weirdly enough, I am that kind of optimist that believes that of the 53 Republicans, Trump can keep the majority, 33 of them in support of him. I believe that there are 20 Republicans who could possibly vote to remove him. That could happen. There's a sliver of a chance if the John Bolton testimony shows people what else is there besides the Ukrainian phone call.
And we don't know if he'll be allowed to testify.
You could see the shift-the-stunned expressions of Trump's die-hard defenders and the deafening silence from right-wing media unsure how to spin it. Moore didn't merely roast Trump, he changed the tone. Once mockery enters the mainstream, power begins to decay. A dictator can survive protests, but he can't survive punchlines. Moore gave America permission to stop fearing Trump and start laughing at him. And when you become the joke, every tantrum, every tweet, every claim of witch hunt only looks more pathetic. That's why Trump is spiraling, not because of court dates or scandals, but because people are tuning out. You can't grift a crowd that's already heading for the exits, and Moore held the door wide open.
Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, the Brexit states.
You could see the shift-the-stunned expressions of Trump's die-hard defenders and the deafening silence from right-wing media unsure how to spin it. Moore didn't merely roast Trump, he changed the tone. Once mockery enters the mainstream, power begins to decay.